quitter.
There's no.
This episode of Taking It to the House was brought to you by EBH Fitness Studios. It's a way of life.
Dr. C. Victor Herbin III, and I'm taking it to the house.
And I'm Dr. Timothy Hoover. We welcome you to another episode of Taking It to the House.
I'm Dr. Jania Hoover. Welcome to Taking It to the House. My first issue and concern is related to the NCAA tournament, March Madness, something that we didn't have last year and we have this year, and the disparities between the women and men. So for those that haven't seen, there were some pictures that were put on social media that exposed the differences in the weight facilities for the men's teams and the women's teams, as well as issues with disparities in their COVID testing protocols and such. So I understand that the men's teams generate much more money for the schools, but in my opinion, that's not an excuse for there to be such gross and vast disparities between the two. Victor, what you got?
It's exciting. It's March Madness. This is the first time we've had tournament basketball in 2 years. It does not feel like 2 years, but nonetheless, have y'all seen what the Pac-12 is doing? Have y'all seen my squad? Look, I went to school from 94 to 98 at SC. We didn't have a basketball team. We had one on paper, but everyone would go watch UCLA play. So to see the Pac-12 doing what they're doing, I'm all in. I'm all in. Okay. So that's what I'm burning on. Let's have fun today.
Like you two, I'm excited too for the NCAA because it's just sports. I'm a fan of sports. So NCAA, yeah, you got some disparities going on. COVID is still here, but I want to applaud you for putting it under one roof, per se. All of the NCAA games are for the men are being played in Indianapolis. So I applaud you for trying and getting it done. And so far, it's success. Other take I want to say is Breonna Taylor. Say her name, say her name, say her name. And this is my burn. She did nothing and died. So don't get me wrong when I say this. Boulder, Colorado, I hurt of the loss of lives. I hurt. But you have a white man that goes in their grocery store with an assault rifle, kills 10 people to include a cop, and he's able to walk out. But Breonna Taylor did nothing in her home, sleep. Is it the color of her skin? Tell me what's going on. Oh, I want to have a good time, but that bothers me. That's my opening burn.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see these types of disparities even while we enjoy the pleasant distraction of March Madness, but we still have all of these events in the background. Right? We can't forget about these disparities, this racism and prejudicial treatment, hate crimes towards Asian Americans, culminating with this mass killing in Atlanta last week. So yes, sports can distract us momentarily, but we always have to be mindful that there are these broader, major, significant concerns and issues that are taking place. So thank you for reminding us of that, because it's true. Breonna Taylor still hasn't gotten justice. They have just finished jury selection for the killer of George Floyd. So we will definitely see what happens with that one as well. So March Madness, always fun. This was definitely a big gap from last year. You know, everything was on pause. And the NBA season, still staying with basketball, the NBA season is in full swing. We're in the second half. And some teams are starting to sing a slightly different tune. So I want to see, gentlemen, how are you feeling? What are you thinking about some of the teams? Who are the contenders? Who are the pretenders?
Well, if we're talking about the NBA, you got the Sixers still by record representing the East. You got the Jazz still by record representing the West. But I don't believe either of those are the best team. If I had a power ranking, I would begin with the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. They are awesome. They are balling really well. They have put all of my cares and fears to rest. Who's going to be holding the ball? They're all ball dominant. No, they are just playing very well. KD's been injured with the hamstring. Sounds like it's more than that. He's been gone already a month, and yet there's some synergy with Harden and Kyrie. They're playing very well. As a matter of fact, Harden hasn't missed a game, and he's playing at an elite level, almost MVP level, if you will. But if I have taking it to the house power ranking, it would be the Brooklyn Nets. Several injuries, but I don't want to talk about the injuries just yet. I want to talk about this second half. I'm excited because it is a truncated season. We are in the second half, and now everything needs to be ramped up. The team that my co-host here, Dr. Jania Hoover, said, the Hawks, watch out for the Hawks. She said that in the very beginning of the season. Well, they fired their coach, Lloyd Carr, and since then, I believe they are 10-1 since they fired the coach. I didn't like the firing. To me, it was unjust, but yet look at the results. And so Atlanta Hawks are doing the damn thing. LA Lakers, injury bug hit them, and I have reason for concern. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'm excited because the second half of the season means teams should be getting themselves together, getting that momentum, and getting ready for the playoffs. So I'm excited. NCAA's here, the March Madness, and then we got the teams in the NBA ramping up for the playoffs. Vic, I'm excited. I'm just happy because, as our co-host said, sports is a distraction, and it is my distraction, NBA in particular. What's your distractions? What's got you excited nowadays? I know it's March Madness. What's got you excited nowadays, sir?
Excitement or nervous energy? Sticking with the NBA theme, Lakers scare me now. You know, a few weeks ago, I was all Laker in, and I can't be excited right now. I'm scared. It's at times it's very hard to recognize that LeBron James is aging. Not only is aging, that means the opportunity for injuries, but he has been so dominant, so indestructible over the years. So when those nagging injuries or something as severe as a high ankle sprain, almost equivalent to what happened, 2 years ago with the groin injury, it's scary because he doesn't go down. And not only that he went down so late in the season. It's already March. We're a week left, and then it's April. Playoffs typically start in mid to late April. Having LeBron out, AD already out, I'm nervous. I'm scared. It's the last day of the trade deadline. What moves will happen and Rob we trust. But to be excited about my team, not so much. Excited about NBA basketball. There's some great storylines coming down. To your point, the 76ers excite me. I know you have picked the Brooklyn Nets all the way to represent the East. I'm really excited about the opportunity for there to be the Eastern Conference Finals between the Nets and the Sixers. Another team that excites me that I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, Kyrie's going to Kyrie. And right now he's kind of Kyrieing. So allegedly his birthday is on the 23rd of March. He had to take a family matters break again. So did he leave because it's his birthday? I don't know. But Kyrie hasn't gone in full Kyrie mode. Is it because all three of the players have not been on the court at the same time for an extended amount of time? Even though KD has been injured and the Nets are playing well, they still have not had the opportunity to gel as a team. I don't know how many games they played together, but they played more games apart where the Super Three has not been together. So the longer that takes, and then they're trying to gel during the playoff, that's going to be exciting because it gives me something to watch from a non-basketball perspective, but more from a organizational leadership, group dynamics. How does Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni try to really get that team gelling. So that's an exciting storyline I'm interested to watch. From the West, are the Jazz for real? Are they really for real, or are they paper champions? We've always said it, whether it's basketball, football, or baseball, there's 2 seasons. You have a regular season and you have the playoff season. So who are the Jazz? I would like to see what those Nuggets are going to do, because they were scrappy in the bubble. So as we get closer down the stretch, it is becoming more exciting basketball just because of storylines. But between that piece and then injuries as a whole, there's one thing to play against COVID, and we know it's always been there for the last 12 months. Now we're playing against the injury bug, and I do not want that to dictate the excitement of the season moving down, because some of the star players are getting injured and having some season-ending injuries that have been occurring. So that's something I'm very excited about watching, and how these things start unfolding in the next 6 weeks.
I got so you make a very good point. There is reason for concern in Lakerland because it is so late in the season and their age. However, Anthony Davis, he was warming up yesterday, so it's already been 4 weeks, and he have another couple weeks pending on this diagnosis on Friday. I believe he's going to get reevaluated on Friday. LeBron James, his injury, high ankle sprain, they're tricky. They are very tricky. So generally, it's 4 weeks. But what I saw when I reviewed the tape, saw him go down, I didn't see a necessary high impact or a crumple that went on. So I think he's going to be back sooner than later. But if they are successful, the team is successful, they get a little help from the other teams in the NBA, and I think they're going to need help. Your concerns are valid. They will drop. And most of you know, only the top 8 teams will make it to the playoffs. They can conceivably drop down to the 7th and 8th to the play-in games, and we don't want that to happen because our stars are injured. So let's just hope that their injuries they come back. Number one, they do come back healthy and they don't drop so far down. Embiid is another for the Sixers. He's been hurt. It was his first game back after the All-Star, so he hyperextended his knee, and so he had a bone bruise, and so he's been out for a couple of weeks now. The Sixers may take a hit on their standings. Again, the Nets are right behind them, and watch out for the Hawks. Watch out for the Hawks.
Do you think, how far can the Lakers fall in their rankings? They'll still be a playoff seed, but still be competitive. I remember one year, Houston Rockets, we're talking about the early 90s, they were number 6 seed and still ran the table. So I don't have an issue if we know we can opt in for rest for AD and LeBron, knowing that we have enough firepower to make a recovery during the playoffs. My concern is, are we deep enough? Do we have enough, one, to sustain that for the rest of the regular season? And 2, are we strong enough to be a lower seed and compete against, 1, 2, the higher seeds if we do that strategy?
Yeah. Good point. Good question. It is a forced rest for both of them, and both of them need it. But how will they come back? Will they come back whole? Will they come back healthy? If they're whole and they're healthy against any of the other teams in the West, I still put my chances with the Lakers because they're 2 All-Stars. They just done. They know how to do it, and I think they have the horses to do it. So if they go to 7th or 8th right now, they would be playing the Jazz. Yes, they can take the Jazz. Can they take the Suns if they're the 7th? Yes, they can take the Suns. But there's a lot of games to be played, a lot of game left, and we still don't know how far they're going to fall. I expect them to fall because of the injuries, but they need the rest at the same time.
All right, so word is right now, they're talking about this trade. They're going to throw names out there just for the ratings. They're going to throw names out there just to create the buzz. They're going to throw names out there just so agents can increase the value of their player. Kyle Lowry, do we need him? Do we need anything right now? Again, we're dealing with some injuries. Do we need a solid third person, or is Schroeder our guy? And did we need Drummond? Like, what do you see right here if there's any movement that Rob needs to do?
Yeah, because if we stand pat, we will drop like a rock, and we can't afford to. I don't think we want to. I would rather stay in the top 4, but you still got to play the games, right? So our glaring hole is really in the middle. Marc Gasol, 7-footer, once was Defensive Player of the Year. He was playing MVP level as well, but Marc Gasol is just a shadow of himself. He cannot move on defense. We need somebody in the middle just to be able to protect the paint. An athletic big would go a long way. You got the Drummonds that are out there. So if Rob can pull that off, then we could sustain AD LeBron being gone for a little while. But we're still going to need Kuzma, Schroeder, and anybody else by committee. Just step your game up just a little bit more as a Laker. But we don't need Lowry, because AD and Bron are out, would be very helpful. But what are you going to do with Schroeder? Who's going to start? Who's going to come off the bench? And what happens when they come back? So you got to think about long-term as well. Long-term being the extended season to 2021, not to 2022. So we need a big man. Lowry's not it.
I got to say that, Victor, it sounds like you're wavering between the Jazz being contenders and you sounded like you were looking at them as pretenders. I got to put my plug in for them. I watched them last year and they were sufficiently tested, and they're the team that I'm watching. You know, we see a history of teams that have experienced adversity in the playoffs, and then they come back completely dialed in. So,
yes,
Unc, you said that seeing the Jazz in the first round, you're confident that the Lakers can take them. I'm not with playing the way that they're playing right now, and especially not if there's any semblance of a lack of congruence and the team being able to gel with the different players being out and coming back in. And then also just with the Jazz, they're a really solid team, and they've just gotten better since their playoff experience last year. So I had to get that in. I am watching the Jazz. Y'all know I stand by whatever I say. So, you know, we can revisit the conversation about the Hawks as well as the Jazz when we get later in the season. But we could not get this far into a show. We can't leave without addressing the NFL, which is we're starting to hear a lot more conversations. So just share a couple of thoughts. Victor, what's going on with your team? What moves? You know, is there anything that surprised you? Is there anything that you want to see from your team or any others? Just what are your initial thoughts based on this point of the offseason?
I have to subscribe to in the Ravens I trust. And Eric DeCosta I trust. It's like I trusted Ozzie Newsome. But I cannot say did not cause some significant level of alarm when I saw most of the defensive line of the Ravens get traded. Matthew Judon left. Nwake went. We still got Calais Campbell, but we're losing some players. And we've always been able to rebuild. We've always been able to reload without rebuilding. So I am interested in seeing what they're trying to do on defense and what's up their sleeve, because I did not think that the defense was an issue. We went ahead and addressed that in the offseason last year. We were able to beat the Titans because of that running game that the Titans have. So we addressed that. I'm still looking at on the offensive side, who's our number one receiver? I like Hollywood Brown, but he's still young. I thought we would have a chance to get one of these veteran receivers out there. So I'm interested in that aspect of it. So it is causing some level of concern in one vein. But again, I trust the Ravens. They've always made the great moves. They've always made the right moves. And again, what I've always respected about the Ravens, they make the best cultural move. If you remember, we went and got Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas only lasted half of an offseason after last year and his debacle. And he had some challenges with some of the teammates. And we voted him off the team. And it's amazing when the Ravens vote you off the team. Earl Thomas, as great as he was with Seattle and as great as he was with us for that first season in the Ravens, he has not had a team yet. He has still not been signed. So it says something about organizational culture when teams value the culture and the cohesion and their brand more than the quality of player. So I trust what the Ravens are going to do. It just I was taken aback when I saw half the defensive line be traded away.
Well, the Bucks are reloading, y'all. They're trying to run it back. Resign Brady, resign most of the defensive stars. Gronk is coming back. They're trying to reload and do it all over again. So in this day of free agency, they're just saying, no, we don't need anybody else out there. Let's just re-sign who we have. And so watch out. They're setting the bar on taking a salary cap, a salary hit, Tom Brady, so he can re-sign his other players so they can start making their money as well. So if they come back, watch out for the Bucks. Since we're talking to NFL, I don't have an NFL team, but I want to talk about Drew Brees. Happy trails to you. Good luck to you, my man. And thank you for providing me entertainment for as long as you did and at a high level. Thank you, Drew Brees. And I know New Orleans Saints are going to miss you. It's Jameis Winston. My question is, Jameis Winston. Yeah, Jameis, are you going to QB? You've now been under the tutelage of Drew Brees. Are you going to take the helm now? Or are you guys going to let the other guy? Come on, Jameis. Step up. Step your game up. New England. Let's remember that most of their players on the defense, I think 5, 6 players on defense actually sat out because of COVID. They re-signed Cam Newton, and now their team is coming back, and they just got a couple new tight ends by free agency. Well, let's remember, Cam Newton was at its best with Greg Olsen down at Carolina. New England was at its best when they were running Hernandez and Gronk at 2 tight ends. So I think Bill Belichick, he said, yeah, Tom Brady, you may have won the first part, if you will, of the divorce, but I'm reloading. Let's see what happens in this next new year. So, Dak, you made your money, sir. I have not been able on air in this platform to tell the world that I'm proud of you. You stuck to your guns and you got paid. Do the doggone thing, Dak. And you bent Jerry over. Go ahead, Dak. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I think I like what you said about the Patriots, but I'm questioning right now Bill Belichick's motives. For one, great moves on their part. This is the most money he's spent on his team in decades. But what I think before he's going after Tom Brady, I think he's saying, how the heck did I let the Buffalo Bills win my division? So he's now finding himself in a position where he has to win his division first before he starts gunning for the whole AFC. So it was surprising to see that they re-signed Cam Newton. You heard a lot of grumblings last year, but I think, again, everyone has to remember most of the NFL did not have a preseason. They did not have an offseason. So you're giving Bill Belichick a chance with a seasoned quarterback in Cam Newton, a whole offseason to really train, get to understand the offense, and like you say, he has some new weapons and really go to town. But I know he's all about the rings, but right now his thing needs to be about beating the Buffalo Bills, who also have been reloading. And they're saying, hey, this division belongs to us for now, for the next 10 years. But another thing, I do like how the Bucks have reloaded, and it's scary. But I can just see Tom Brady right now sitting back on his porch in Tampa Bay saying, I just made Drew Brees retire. I put him out the pasture. I came in 1 year, no all season, took this man's division from him and this ring. The same ring he's been trying to get for the last 10 years. And I sent him out the pasture. And guess who he's saying? Who's next? Aaron, this used to be your conference. It's mine too. Man's game. So this is exciting from that aspect to watch Tom Brady say, hey, look, I don't need any more money. I'm about winning championships. I got some. What they said back in the days, ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. So Tom Brady's like, look, Super Bowl rings on me. Let's go. So everybody is ready. And to see what he's going to do in the NFC, I'm calling my shots now. I am not going against Tom Brady until the dude is got his gold jacket. Bucks will be in the playoffs. Bucks will be in the Super Bowl next year. Who's threatening them? NFC West. Who you got? Who? The Niners still do not know what quarterback they're going to have. Matt Stafford's going to take the Rams in 1 year? Nope. Russell Wilson, will he even be on the team? Kyle Murray, I love what they did in Arizona. Nope, not giving them a chance. The biggest threat to Tom Brady from repeating an NFC championship game. You hear me? That repeating, becoming NFC champion, not a Super Bowl champion. NFC champion is Aaron Rodgers. No one else. NFC East is still trying to pick up their teeth from last year. They're done. So Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. That's it. That's who the NFC belongs to right now. I do not see any teams right now that threaten them. The only thing that threatens them is injuries. The AFC, it's a toss-up for the AFC. So I am excited to see some of these moves, but Bruce Arians and Tampa Bay, chips in the center of the table, all in. If you want to beat a man, beat the man, and we the man. So exciting.
Yeah. So this conversation has been sufficiently uncomfortable for me. For those that don't remember, I'm a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, and they're in the same division with the New Orleans Saints as well as the Tampa Buccaneers. So unfortunately, even though I didn't like it, I didn't hear any lies. Just where we are at this point in free agency for the team that I like and support, they're screwed just because of the salary cap situation. I really wish that the salary cap wasn't a thing. Like, why can't they just pay as much as they want to, like baseball does? But that's another topic for another day. So the Falcons haven't made any splashy moves. And I really don't think that those are necessary. I don't think that that's the key to success in this league. I do think that they are going to have to take some time to get their bearing. There's a new GM, there's a new coach, not a lot of money to work with. They restructured Matt Ryan's contract. I've been telling people for a long time that they were not moving on from Matt Ryan this year. People didn't believe me. There's a lot to be seen. They lost, or not lost, but to free agency, some of my favorite players, one of them being Keanu Neal. DeMonte KZ is also meeting with the Cowboys as well. So I don't like to see it, but of course you want players to do well. I want my team to do well. But like my cousin said, there isn't any significant obstacle to the Bucs being able to repeat. And Bruce Arians is a hell of a coach. And he just needed a system that was going to work to that level. He was always just right there. And now he's got all of the pieces that he needs. He was always one of my favorite coaches. And then now it's, I can't root for him because he's got, the people that I don't like, and he's in the division that I like. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens in free agency. I'm excited to see what these teams do in the draft. Speaking of Dak and other players, I always want them to make their money. I always want them to get paid, especially when it comes to Black quarterbacks, just because historically speaking, and even now, they have a much shorter leash. The benefit of Dak getting injured when he did and the way that he did was it showed the entire world how much his presence was needed. And he basically, he was able to get the money that he was asking for and really deserved. And I use deserved in air quotes. But yeah, those are my random ruminations just based on where we are at this point. It's always amazing. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching and continuing to engage with us. And we'll see you next time. Victor, what are your thoughts?
For one, 1992 was a good year. When I was in high school, I was about 16 years old, and there's this game that came out called Mortal Kombat. Great game. Finish him. Cali, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, all this great stuff. Then they made a movie 3 years later, 95. I was in college, sophomore year of college, and they made another movie 97, which flopped. Why in the HE double are they having another movie come out in 2021? Who remembers these movies? And who wants to watch these movies? Look, play the video game, call it a day. But come on, man. I just saw this trailer. I said, this has got to be, who watches this after 30 years? A video game turned movie, and the movie sucked. So as we go on for this next week, maybe you all will see the trailer. Those of you all who know what I know and what I shared off air, come on, man. Just play video games and call it. They don't put this movie out.
My closing burn this take is just to the Elgin Baylor family. Rest in peace. First of many to bring flair to the air. You're pre-Jordan, you're pre-Dr. J. And what I learned in your passing, that you were playing basketball and serving in the reserves at the same time. So, sir, I salute you. To the Baylor family, may he and you all rest, knowing that he's in a better place.
I forgot to hit us on social media or something, but it's all good. It's like, I guess you did forget to say goodbye.
The preview that I'm not excited about is the Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Those jokes been fighting for 70 years.
Exactly.
I'm for Kong.
Every time it comes on, mom's like, isn't he dead? I thought he was dead a long time ago. Where's he?
That's a date night with me and my wife. I'm taking her out. And if she don't want to go, I'll go by myself.
I think it comes out next week. I think.
I'm not going to see it. I'll wait. I got 100 channels. I'll wait till it comes on one of them.
Commercial free or commercial, it don't matter. Because ain't nothing else on TV.